Hey, welcome everybody to this free podcasting 101 webinar hosted here in the Mid Atlantic Podcast Conference Group. I'm your host tonight. It's the sun's coming back out here. It was crazy. I thought I was going to run into some trouble with some rain and power going out and stuff. Knock on wood, that ain't going to happen tonight. But what is going to happen tonight is I'm going to run through, I believe it's like 7 key pieces to what I identify as being a podcasting 101 course. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. So could you write something in the video chat? Let me know that you can definitely hear me and I'm not just speaking to nothing. I see that we have a few people on right now. I got to put my glasses back on because I cannot see without them, or I can see, just I can't read. So I won't be able to read your comments here. So if you can hear me, if you could just drop a comment in loud and clear. Awesome. That's from Facebook user. I've never seen that before, but there's Facebook user. Hey, Stacy, we definitely got to catch up soon, Stacy. Thank you very much, Yvette. And I can hear you loud and clear. Wow, all right, everybody's saying loud and clear. That's awesome. All right, so tonight, let's talk about podcasting 101. So real quick, I've been podcasting for 5 years. I've been running the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference since, it'll be 5 years this upcoming year, something like that. 6 years this upcoming year. And this is our 5th anniversary event in September. But I'll get to that later. I just wanted to let everybody know that, like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. I have a bunch of thoughts and feelings and hoping that I can help somebody else get their podcasting start, like somebody named Al Kessel. Shout out to Al Kessel. Was kind enough to help me. And thank you. Yeah, this is not my studio. My studio is upstairs, but my daughter, she is 3.5, and she very much comes into my office if I'm in there before she falls asleep. And I don't know if she's asleep at the moment, but so I can't do it from there. So I've moved. I was out in my garage studio for a while, but so this is the theater area. I'm trying to move the camera. It's all tight and stuff. But yeah, so there's definitely a lot of toys and things to be had here in the theater room, but it's great. Hey, this is real life, and this is how it happens here. So let's get down to podcasting 101. So I'm going to call out questions, thoughts, and comments. And then if you can put them in the chat, that would help me. I can give you, feedback, and we could talk about things back and forth. Because I have some thoughts about what these answers that you're going to give to these questions. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, the first thing that I would be thinking about is, what the heck do you want to talk about? What is so important to you that you would want to talk about it 24/7? You don't want to talk about anything else, or maybe you do want to talk about something else, but what's the thing that you want to talk about? What's the before we even get to the message and who you want to talk to, what's the thing? Could you write in the comments what your thing is? And I'll talk a little bit. When I was getting started, I wanted to talk about people that were doing really incredible things like dreaming. So I started up the Dreamers podcast. I was on a plane to Disney World, and my friend Martin was like, hey, you should listen to the show about entrepreneurs, and they interview entrepreneurs. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I know tons of people in business, but I know a lot more people that are living their dreams. I was like, okay, boom, we're gonna do that. So the plane landed. I already had a list of 50 people that I wanted to have on the show, and before we even got to the rental car, when we landed, I got the domain name dreamerspodcast.com. I got the Facebook page and the Twitter handle Dreamers Podcast. And 2 weeks later, I was off and running, interviewing people that were doing really cool things and working towards inspiring other people. So that was the thing I really wanted to talk about, because a lot of people told me, hey, you should have a show about Disney. You love Disney. You go to Disney all the time. We were on our way to Disney on that, on that fateful plane, but it was not to be for me. I needed something that I wouldn't get bored of. So for me, it was interviewing other people that would help inspire me, because I was in a really difficult time in my life. I just left my family's business and I didn't really know what I wanted to do and all that stuff. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted. So it's really important that you think about what you want to talk about with your platform, or not even with your platform, like what you would want to talk about any day of the week, all the time. So some of the answers I got here is my thing equals education. It says Facebook user. I don't know why it's coming through as Facebook user. So Facebook user, education. So what is there anything specific about education that you wanted to talk about? Then Raph, what's up, man? Congratulations. Shout out to Raph for launching Served. He just launched his podcast the other day. Very proud of this guy. It took over 2 years, and he'll be at MapCon as well. Let's see. Yvette, storytelling gets me excited. Yes, it's definitely my thing. So storytelling. So what kind of storytelling? What are you talking about? Like fictional storytelling, or telling stories that about from people's past, or like what kind of storytelling are we talking about? Yeah, me too. Just 2 years later, LOL. Next show, I'll be high speed like you. I'm guessing it says Facebook. I'm assuming that's rap. I'm not sure. Let's see. Stacy, my show. I've spent many years speaking with the various trades and people associated with building renovations and new construction. I've talked with everyone from architects and contractors to fabric manufacturers and furniture makers. My show is where we talk about all things interior design with those same people. I'll ask the questions you want to know about, such as how does the furniture maker it cuts off itself. So I'm guessing that says select furniture maker selecting something to that effect. If you want to fill in the rest of your answer there, Stacy, it'd be great. My thing is traditional coaching versus innovative coaching, and in hockey. So that is so I know that this is a different person than this face. I don't know why this is coming through like this. This is terrible. So traditional coaching versus innovative coaching in hockey. I think that I think that's awesome. I think that there's a ton of hockey coaches out there, as hockey is, both big in high school and in college, collegiate, and then in the minor leagues as well. So I think that is a really interesting topic that you should definitely look into diving more into. So that's Steve Green. Steve Green's the education one, I believe. Education is my business, my career. So I feel like I have many things to talk about. So, so one of the things that you want to do is try to niche down a little bit into like a topic, and then like maybe a subtopic. If you go too broadly, it might not speak to every person that might apply to, unless it's very, very narrow. So like education sounds great if it's to teachers and it's specifically geared towards teachers, or maybe it's a specific topic in teachers, like a not topic, like a specific, like I can't even think of it. The like a specific like type of course, like history. Like here's the, this is the education podcast about history, and we talk to history teachers or something to that effect. Let's see. It's all about giving parents and students actions they can take to improve their educational experience. Cool. So yeah, so I mean that does sound like two different sets of people that you are trying to talk to there, both the parents and the students. So I think that's a good place to get into the next question, or the next question I have. So you've had real life stories that have humor and provide food for thought, and stories that bring the funny. Gotta have the funny. You absolutely do have to have the funny. The funny is people like to discount it, right? Like when it comes to like reward shows and stuff. But the fact of the matter is that if things aren't funny, people aren't really usually paying attention. Let's see. The total answer is there. Yeah. Sorry, Stacy. I guess there's only so many characters that translate over into StreamYard. It's something they probably should look at fixing. It says Facebook user because you are using StreamYard, so it doesn't know who the user is. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump into the Facebook group here, and let's see. Can I? Okay, this would wow. Okay, so this actually might help a lot. But now I am. I want to enlarge it. I don't want the sound. Okay. All right. So trying to get through the questions here. Of course, if I don't use StreamYard, then I can't put them up on for people to see them. Vinny Maltz's hockey. Let's see. Hi, Joe. I just started mine within the last few days, updating from a blog. I'm a voice actor, so kind of fit. I highlight the cool things people are doing in marketing, advertising, and tech areas with my own geeky take on it. Education, middle school, high school age, all of it. Well, that's a good, for the education one, that's a great spot to have. Since I'm in New York, I'm thinking about Subway survival skill stories. It's a whole different world down there. It is. I've been down there a couple of times. It's not one of my favorite places. I'm glad I don't have to experience it all the time. People saying they love it, and thank you. So all right, so now I want to ask who is the avatar, right? So we touched a little bit on that with the last question, which is who, what do you want to talk about now? Who is the person you're trying to speak to? I know with Steve Green, he was talking about middle school, the high schoolers, the parents and students. That was weird. I don't know who said that out, Jody. Yeah, so who is your avatar? Like, who are you thinking about talking to so that you can construct your message to fit, like, because you're not, unless you're trying to, like, your avatar is yourself. So in my case, who I thought I was going to be talking to with the Dreamers podcast is not who wound up being the audience of the show. Because sometimes you think that, like, you're doing a show that could be like, oh, it could be for kids, it could be for adults, it could be for people like me, it could be people for all these different people, and what ends up being is that, like, one specific type of people that you were sharing it to resonate a lot more than others. In my case, it was mostly middle-aged women who it wasn't who I intended for it to be before out of the gate, but that's who largely was listening to the show initially, and eventually that changed over time as my audience continued to grow, and as the show became more business focused, and as now it's kind of a mixture of a lot of different people that have big businesses to people that have small businesses that are just starting businesses, and people who are just entrepreneurs that are doing lots of different projects and things of that nature. So who are some of the avatars that you're all trying to talk to with your podcast idea? Let's see. So Jody says, I'm thinking I'm talking to folks who are geeky about media and marketing the way I am. I guess I'll see who it resonates with after it's been a while, going for a while, as you say. Yeah, and one of the things you can do to find out after you've been going a while is, ask. You could always send out an email. Hopefully you're all, like, building an email list as you go along, but especially because, like, MailChimp is free to do so for up to 2,000 emails. So hopefully you're doing that, and you could literally just send out a questionnaire and, like, hey, what kind of stuff do you want to hear more about, and as part of that, who are you, what's the demographics. Now Facebook can also help with that. If you have a Facebook page, you can find out some of the demographics of who's resonating with the messages that you're sending out there. So I think it's really important that you think about who the avatar, the person that you're trying to reach is, because if your message was for the student, like in Steve's case, it's like the students and the parents of the students, but it turns out that it's resonating more with the teachers, like that's not going to help you with who you're trying to reach. um so yeah, that is definitely what you want to be thinking about. And thank you Jody, as well as with Yvette, with your story about the with the subway stories. Like, is it for New Yorkers, the people who live it, or is it for the people who don't live it? Let's see, Yvette. I would like to reach folks looking to escape for 5 minutes or so into a soft place to land. Some mind candy for a bit, then back to the fun of adulting. Oh, it is fun, as I have learned over the last few years. Um, let's see, Steve. Parents with children is 10 to 18. I know that's broad, but it's my ideal client. Okay. Yeah, so that's fine as long as you're hitting the as long as you feel that you're hitting the topics that are really affecting those people, so that it resonates with them. I don't subscribe to the idea that you have to make every single episode to be hyper targeted, but I will say that if you want this to be part of your marketing plan for a business, it really, you need to put a little more thought to try to gauge it, because a 10-year-old is very vastly different from even a 15-year-old to an 18-year-old. So it's just one of those things that you might find that, like, you might have more luck getting the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old client, well, not them as the clients, but the parents of them, this clients, than say 17 or 18, or maybe the other way, because if they're trying to get off to college and need that extra help there. Let's see. Super Joe's heads up. Something is wonky with Facebook Live. All the comments fade in and out, and I've been kicked off. Oh, that is not good. Who said that? Oh, Raph said that. That is really weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I wish Ross Brand would get in here. Let me tag Ross Brand if he's available. It would probably be quite helpful. So let's see, Stacy. I'm talking to folks who want to understand about the materials they are going to select for their remodel for their remodel period educational. So yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for you to try to attract those people that want to be a part of using your services over somebody else's services and helping build authority, of being that person that they go to. I think that the important thing to watch there, Stacy, is if you're trying to sell services, and I learned this through the hard way myself, if you're trying to sell services through your podcast, and you're having lots of guests on, make sure you're picking the right guests, so that you're not just interviewing other people who are in your same space. Not that it's about competition, but that they're there to tell their story and to build their authority instead of you building your authority. So find people that you could interview that could help you build your authority with your potential clients, rather than like just having other people on. I mean, every once in a while it's great to have a friend that's also like an interior designer and they have this these stories, but just make sure that that's really clear, like that you're spending your time building your show and your audience for you to get clients, not for other people to build their authority to get clients. Let's see. One more thing. Since my stories are 5 minutes max, it is perfect for the morning drive, coffee brew time, or the walk around the block to stretch your office or remote lights. I love that. No interior designers, only vendor partners. That's awesome to hear. And I think the message still stays the same with anybody else who's trying to build that message of like, hey, I'm the authority here, and you want people that compliment you, not necessarily or maybe competing. But that's, again, it's not about the competition so much as it's about the time that you're using to broadcast your authority. I interviewed a glassblower and then the CEO of a national carpet company. That's pretty awesome. That's awesome. I think that's a great compliment there. Agreed that mine are no longer than 3 minutes so far. I think that brings up a great question about how long your podcast should be. And while there is an ideal time for your listener, you will have to find out what that is. And if you identify a couple of great people who really love listening to your show, they will tell you, I wish your show was like 10 minutes longer because my drive is 10 minutes longer. Or if it's too long or too many episodes, they will also tell you and give you that feedback. So, identify some key people in your avatar, of your avatar that you can like look at and lean into and say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Should I go to 3 days a week, or is that too many episodes? You just never know with what you're trying to hit. So the question about equipment to be using. Oh, and thank you, Facebook user, Jody. Let's see. Ross hasn't jumped in here just yet. I wish he would, but he has not. So what equipment are you going to use? Well, I'm curious. Anybody who's already podcasting, write in what equipment that you are using: microphone, mixer, recorder, phone. So from my standpoint, I used to try to get on the whole, like, you gotta have the best and you gotta, have all this awesome stuff. I mean, as you can see, I'm using an ATR 2100 microphone from Audio-Technica right now, plugged in USB into my laptop. Is it the best? No, but it works. It's got pretty good noise isolation from the rest of the house, which, I mean, with 2 kids running around, it's, it gets kind of loud. I have a Shure SM7B microphone upstairs with a mixer and all that stuff. It's great, but the reason I even have it was because I got kids. And when I got kids, I was like, I need a microphone that's not a Blue Yeti. I would not recommend a Blue Yeti to anyone unless you have like a super quiet space. But even then, there's like, in my experience, at least in the last like 5 years ago, there was hiss in the background. So I was not a big fan of that. Let's see. Facebook user who is Raf. He uses a Rode Pro Podcaster Pro. Love it. I don't blame you. I've heard great things about all of the Rode products, from their USB microphone to that new is, I don't know. I guess that's the board, the Pro Podcaster Pro, I assume. It looks awesome. It sounds awesome from what I've heard. Me personally, I don't know. I just not gonna probably pick one up because I'm just not getting that level of complexity anymore in my recordings. Though, I mean, with that said, the Podcaster Pro is a lot more simplistic than if you had like all the equipment like that replaces, from what I've been reading from other people. It's crazy. Like the compressor's gone, like all these pieces of equipment. Stacy says I sound great on this mic. I appreciate that. I think I sound pretty good on here. It's not like I've done recordings with it and then like, but for things like this, it works great. It sounds better than my C920 webcam mic or even like a built-in mic. So it's a great upgrade from that, and it doesn't cost a ton of money. I think that's a important thing here is to not worry about how much you're spending. There's lots of great options. Like I said, this is like a $60 mic. You plug it in USB, like bam, you're gone. You're off to the races, and you're recording. I also have a Shure mic that it's the MV88 that plugs in Lightning port to my iPhone. I use that once in a while instead of having like a dedicated recorder. You just pop that on there and bam, I got like a very versatile mic setup for, I think it was like $100 or something like that. Not a ton of money. And actually a lot of my podcasts now are recorded with a Rode mic, Video Micro, and recorded with a DSLR mirrorless camera. So yeah, so you don't have to have the $10,000 mic set up. Let's see. Yvette says, I record from my laptop with the Blue Yeti mic that I received as a gift. It was free, so heck yeah. I agree. If you got it for free, it's awesome. Just make sure you turn it down as much as you can to get as little sound in the background as possible. I'm starting out, so I'm jumping in and figuring out as I go. Absolutely. I started out with a Blue Yeti mic as well, and I used that for, I don't know, quite a few, probably about 2 years leading up to needing something else that I wasn't going to have my daughter, crying in the background somewhere else in the house. I'm using a Sennheiser 416, but it's not a USB. Part of my Pro setup makes it a little easier to go to the podcast route. What I do love about the 416 though is that it's very directional, so it's great for I'm assuming that is Jody. Yep, that was Jody saying that. There's some really great mics out there, and I think you also have to find the mic that makes you sound good. But when you're getting started, sometimes less is more. Let's see. I'm taking it to MapCon so you can all mess with it and check it out. I'm looking forward to that, Raph. Yeah, I definitely would love to just have one and play around with it. I have a Blue Yeti Pro. Record either direct on the mic or direct on the Mac or on the Zoom. But for all of us non-techie people, what's the best, least expensive? Still use the Snowball? No. Snowball's okay. I wouldn't personally recommend it. I would recommend this over that because it has an XLR port. So if you do upgrade later on, you can do that. If you really want to just get started, you have a phone and you have a recording app, so you can record right on your phone. Will it sound the greatest? No, but if you're literally just getting started and you want to see how your voice sounds and how comfortable you are getting, the only way you're going to get more comfortable on the mic or the camera or the live stream or the standing in front of lots and lots and lots of people is just doing it and doing it over and over and over and over again. If you have access to a $30 Snowball, yeah, I mean, I know they go on sale sometimes. You can get them as cheap as $30. It's not terrible. It's not a bad route. You can plug it right into your computer. But if you spend a little bit more money on a mic like this or some of the other USB microphones that aren't condenser mics, then I would say go with that instead. Alphonic can help take out the hiss. Yeah, so it can. Audacity is what I use. That's actually the next slide coming up is talking about software. At least I hope it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, so the next slide is about software. So I think, looking at, let's see, I have a Snowball, was my first real mic. It works. It does do the job. It's not my favorite mic, but one person that uses a Snowball that's been very successful is the $100 MBA. Shout out to Omar Zenhome, and him recording a daily podcast with a Snowball and producing it and making tons of money in the process. That I think that's the thing I want to kind of close on though is with the equipment side of it is, remember this, right? So CBS, well, I live outside of Philly, right? So we love our Philly sports teams, and we have actually 3 Philly sports talk radio shows that I know of in the Philly area. So what I want to impart on all of you is, CBS owns the biggest of them, the 94.1 here in Philly, and they rely, $30 billion company relying on people to pick up a cell phone and call into a radio station and talk on the air. And that cell phone usually does not sound very well, at least not as well as they do in the studio or on site. So I think, I think you got to give it some real thought about the equipment isn't what matters. I always say if you can get your audio quality to about 70-80% where it sounds pretty darn good, the content will carry it the rest of the way. Your audience will allow it to carry it the rest of the way. You just got to get started. Looking forward to seeing you, Yvette, and the rest of the gang at MapCon Stacy likes Audacity. I like Audacity too. I'll get to that in a second. And just to get over the fear of talking to myself, your earbuds. Yeah, so the Apple earbuds, and probably other earbuds too, but the Apple earbuds and specifically, great option as well. Plugging that in, even better than just talking right into like an iPhone. Plug in the earbuds and talking to that mic. I would say get a clip so you can clip it away from yourself. I don't have a pair here with me, unfortunately. But if you clip it away, because otherwise you start talking and you start going like this, and all you're like, that's all you're going to hear. And you definitely don't want that, because that's just like hurting people's ears and stuff. So let's move on to what software can I use. I use Audacity. In the comments, put down what software you're using. I mean, obviously there's the Adobe one, there's SoundForge, there's GarageBand if you're on a Mac. Personally, I use Audacity. I've used it for going back into like the early 2000s. And yeah, I mean, it's free. And what I love about Audacity isn't just that it's free, but also that it's the same. It's free and it works across multiple platforms. So it's the same on my MacBook as it is on my Windows desktop, as it, and it does do the job. Is it as pro level as, what's the Adobe one? Not Premiere, Adobe. I can't think of the one, but the one that Adobe makes, the one I don't use, Audition. So yeah, the Audition. No, I mean Audition probably does it better, but Audacity is just a simple wave editor that gives you lots of different tools, and you can play with them and get better at it. And like I said, it's free. It works. I've had maybe one or two issues over the course of the last 5-6 years that I've been using it heavily for. Actually, no, it's probably been longer than that. I mean, because like I said, I've been using it since the early 2000s, and I think there's only been like one or two times I've ever had a real problem. Let me see. Jody uses Audition. Yvette is using Audacity. So Steven asks, how mandatory are headphones? So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, if you want to monitor the audio that you're speaking in, like right now, I have headphones on, which actually I don't even know why I have headphones. I shouldn't even have headphones. I should take these off because it's actually hot in here. But you know what? No, actually, it sounds weird. I actually like monitoring it. It's because it just sounds better to be able to hear yourself, like and all the pops and things that are going on in the mic. I would say, yeah, if you have the ability to use headphones to monitor what you're doing, it helps. But again, it depends on the budget, depends on what you're what you're using to produce. Let's see. It's just multi-tracks better, that's all, and it has an auto heal function that is fantastic. I imagine it would. And the multi-tracking thing, yeah, that's one thing that with Audacity I'm not the craziest about. So I think that using Audition would be better for but again, Audition's meant for like bands and music and more things than just podcasting with like 1, 2, or 3 tracks, 4 tracks. So yeah, feedback stinks when you don't have headphones or buds. Yeah, you don't know what's going on. That's one of the downsides, like to like, so I use a DSL, a mirrorless DSLR to record like the TV show and my podcast and stuff. I kind of miss my Canon 80D that had a headphone jack because I didn't use it all the time, but when I did, I wanted to make sure that like I knew what the audio sounded like, and with my M50s I don't know what it sounds like, so it's kind of a crapshoot and it's a little scary, but it's kind of the price you pay, I guess. Get yourself an older version. I use it with my voiceovers. Yeah, so I don't know that you can I mean, Audition you're supposed to pay for monthly. I don't know of a way to get it like as a one-time pay fee option. So let's see. Next up, what host do I use? That is a loaded question if I ever heard one. I think there's plenty of great hosts out there, from Blueberry, Libsyn, Podbean, Spreaker. Uh, I'm trying to think. I mean, people really like to use Anchor because of the software and the ease of use that it enables for you to, like, if you don't really know what you're doing, um, it enables you to like jump in and get started, but you don't apparently own the content or something to that effect. I don't really know because I haven't gotten too deep into the Anchor portion of it. See, Steve says Audition. I have it, but haven't used it. We'll check it out more tomorrow. And the Heal, I guess the Heal is similar to like healing a photo in Photoshop. But it can be hard to find. She's talking about finding an older version like 3.0. I guess that's a possibility. I don't know about compatibility. That sounds pretty old. So I don't know about compatibility with like Windows 10 or a newer version of Mac OS. But yeah, if you could find it, I guess that would work. So when it comes to hosting, personally, I host my own files off of my web server, my web hosting server. But if I had to pick one, I mean, I personally would probably go with either Libsyn or with Blueberry. Probably Blueberry. One of the great things that Blueberry does is they enable people to have PowerPress. So if you have a WordPress site, you can you can host your files from any kind of server and not have to pay like hosting fees every month. In my case, I use DreamHost for my website, and I host the files off of there. And I use Blueberry for my stats. They're IAB compliant. But like I said, it's really, you got to do the research to really figure out what you want. Let's see. Raf is using Captivate podcast websites, launched Serve Radio and Captivate. Yeah, so Captivate is another option. I kind of forgot about that. Shout out to Mark Asquith. See, look for auto heal, Steven. You highlight things like a mouth click and you press that button and it goes away. It's really fantastic. Now, does that go away for across the whole recording, or just that one spot? Because, like, I mean, you could always just mute the clicks and things of that nature. But that's what I do in Audacity. So yeah, so host is, it's one of those things where it should, hopefully it's not a limiting factor for you. Obviously hosting files cost money and but having the right host that you feel, suits your needs, making sure that there's an out, David Jackson, huge fan of Dave Jackson, from the School of Podcasting. He said he was posting about one of the hosts, I forget which host it was, who basically was like, oh, if you want to take your podcast feed and bring it somewhere else, you can't do it. We don't support that. You're basically, up the creek without a paddle. So, those are the types of things that you want to make sure, like, hey, what if I have to leave this place and go somewhere else? That's one of the reasons that, like, using a platform like WordPress is so great, because you can take your WordPress install for your website and take it somewhere else. You're not limited to like, oh, I have a Squarespace site. Where else can I take my Squarespace site? Oh, I can't. I'm stuck here. Or my Wix site. Oh, I can't. I'm stuck here. Unless I just rebuild the site completely from the ground up somewhere else. Steven says that he's on Apple, Spotify, and a few others. Those aren't hosts. They're like RSS feed aggregators, so that like people can find you on those platforms. But the hosts that that I'm referring to would be, like I said, Blueberry, Libsyn, Podbean, the podcast websites with Captivate. I feel like I'm missing Spreaker, and there's a number of other ones out there. So just give it some thought about what your goals are, and how far out are you, like, okay, if I have this, am I going to be missing out when I try to move my podcast somewhere else? And I would stay away from SoundCloud personally. Uh, so what will you do to promote it? Oh, there you go. I'm on Libsyn so far and I'm liking it, but I also have my own WordPress site. That's awesome. You definitely want to have your own WordPress site. You want to own as much of the chain as you possibly can, so that you really own the brand, and it's not beholden to somebody else's demands or what they feel that they want to do with your content and your time and effort. So what will you do to promote it? So I want to hear some things in the comments about what you've all done to promote your shows. um me, I've done conferences and events where I've set up a booth and recorded from there, got a bunch of interviews while I was there. Generally, I would do like short form interviews. Like I kind of took my interview form and just kind of like boiled it down to like 2-3 questions. So in like 5-10 minutes, get my answers, get out. I've done lots of paid advertisements on Facebook. I've done lots of SEO work to try to get my stuff to show up, and there's tons, there's so many things that you can do. But I want you to think about, like, okay, so you have this thing that you love to talk about, you know who you're going to talk to it about, you have the equipment, and you record them and it sounds great, you use the software to make it sound great, now you're hosting it, and now what? Are people are going to just knock on the door and show up? Or beat down the door, I should say. Let's see. My concern is not being able to pack up my stuff and leave a hosting site if I choose to. What do I need to look for to protect myself? Definitely look for like what's the out route. Making sure that you have backups of all your MP3 files. I have a very large folder with like all 380. Well, I have more than 385 episodes, but all the episodes are in a file as MP3 files, so that I could pack up and I could take it to a hosting service if I wanted to. I just haven't felt the need to in the 5 years that I've been self-hosting the files myself through my web hosting company, DreamHost. Those are called directories. They pull your podcast content via the RSS feed. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, getting back to your question, Yvette, I would look for what's the easy out? Are you able to take your content? Are they the 301 redirect is what you want them to be able to support you so that you can redirect your feed to somewhere else. You do have the option, like with Apple Podcasts now, you can easily change your feed. With Spreaker, you can change where your feed, where that's pointing to. Or not Spreaker. What's the? I can't even think of the name of it. Wow, it's been so long since I've been on their site. I can't even think of it. It's like the other S one, Stitcher. Stitcher. I think you can like redirect Stitcher. I'm not sure how easy it is to like redirect Spotify. I just actually applied for Spotify yesterday or today. Actually, today, I finally decided to give it a try. So yeah, so I'd be looking for things like that. How do I protect myself to get out? Where's the exit? That's the big thing. And also how they're going to use your content. Are they going to are they doing something where they're potentially going to sell your content or inject ads into your content as part of the hosting? Like that's something that you have to think about, that you don't know what ads are being added. Now, with that said, like things are maybe a little more looser than they used to be, thanks to like the advent of YouTube, and like, hey, I watch YouTube and there's ads just thrown in the beginning, the middles, the end. And people are okay with that because they're getting paid. You definitely don't want to not be getting paid at least some form of money if you're getting plays and they're collecting, their advertising revenue, and you're getting nothing. Especially if they're not doing anything in the way of hosting it. Like, they're just a platform that is taking advantage of your content, and you're getting nothing out of it. So yeah, then what is there any ways that you guys have found promoting it? I know people have like set up at bars, set up at like hobby shops, and broadcasted from those. those are ways to promote it. I think having live events, and having a Facebook group to bring people in, having a Facebook page that get people to like and show that, like, the social proof, like, hey, somebody likes what I do and it exists in the world. Let's see. Do you have to pay for your podcast on Stitcher or other places? No, you don't have to pay. No, you don't have to pay to put your podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple. None of that. Yeah, you just have to submit it. I use social media, including LinkedIn. I know, right? To promote podcast. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great opportunity to promote things. Especially if you have like video to go along with it. I've had really good luck with people finding out about me because they're searching for things like that. Depending on what your platform is, Instagram could be really great because people actually use hashtags on Instagram, unlike almost any other platform. Probably, it's the number one thing that I would be looking. I mean, Twitter, I'm sure uses hashtags too, but to a lesser extent, unless it's like for like a major like TV network thing or an event that's going on or something to that effect. They do, yeah. So they do have to approve it. He's talking about Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. They all have to approve your podcast to be on. Yep, definitely. I post on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Yeah. So and I'd be looking. You're always looking to try to find like what's the what's the hook to bring somebody into the podcast, right? Because people aren't necessarily looking for that specific podcast. They find something, they get hooked in, like next thing they know, they're getting sucked into it and constantly watching. Steven, so social media, Facebook, Instagram, my email list. Yeah, so if you have an email list already, that's awesome. That means that people already know and trust you. Like, it's a great opportunity to be sending them the content that you're producing, to get your name in front of them. I speak on other people's podcasts and market to schools and universities as resource info. I would also add getting speaking engagements, going and speaking at local events or not so local events that would resonate with your topic. I wish it was not this year, unfortunately, but definitely playing next year. Yeah, Jody, it's a shame, but we'll definitely, I'm looking forward to meeting you next year. Using hashtags on LinkedIn is awesome. If you trend on a hashtag, you get a ton of engagement, way more than the other social platforms. Yeah, Sam, I mean, I haven't had that fortunate ability to trend on on LinkedIn for a specific hashtag yet, but I hope to at some point to get there. So I just want you to give some really thought, like, how do you promote it? Like, what's the hooks that you're going to put out there that really are going to get people to like feel something, right? You always want people to feel something, and it might be positive or negative, but if they are talking, then they are at least paying attention, and having their attention is invaluable. So yeah, definitely. Sam definitely nailed it. She always does. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm actually teaching a course with Sam called Elevate Your Podcast. It's at MapCon, the morning of MapCon on Friday, September 6th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Includes like a private lunch, all before MapCon kicks off at 1 o'clock on Friday, which actually helps this is really like, you can learn so much more. Like, there's so much more than what I just know and what I just have said, and learning from even the comments that you guys have been so gracious to have. So yeah, MapCon is MapCon 5. This is the 5th anniversary event. Is being held in this crazy hotel that's just behind this image here. It's in Atlantic City, September 6th and 7th. Let's see. Yes, Sam, I am very excited for the Elevate Your Podcast course. Sam is co-hosting it with me. It's gonna be so much fun. I've done it 2 years in a row now. We've had such great response from the people that have attended, with with the course. The first year was like a private course at my house. The second year it was at the hotel before the conference, and this year it's also at the hotel before the conference. So it's a great opportunity to learn more and to step up your podcasting game. And if you want to save 15% off a plus or premium ticket, use offer code MAPCON5 to get 15% off. And that pretty much wraps up the whole thing here with the podcasting 101. So what is there any questions I could answer before I sign off here and go rest my voice for a bit? I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Yvette, and who said that? Jody. Yes. Well, we want to get you in Atlantic City as well. It's a very interesting city, I will say. I will say that. Any other questions I can answer before we get off? I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody. It's about a month. Well, actually less than a month from now, I guess. So yeah, so we're going to be down there. Do you have a virtual ticket? Yes, there is a virtual ticket. You can get it off of the Mid-Atlantic Podcast, midatlanticpodcast.com. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page where it says tickets, you can buy a virtual ticket. It's $100. And you can have access to every single talk. There's like 40 speakers that are going to be there. There's a lunch included on Saturday. With your plus or premium ticket, you're getting a limited edition shirt that is only going to be available at that event. That one time through 234 Threads, which is my apparel company. And there's free headshots. If you don't have a headshot, Jeanette Pellegrini Photography, she will be in the house. She will be doing headshots for everyone. It's included with your ticket. What else? We're giving away an Audio Technica package. 4 people will walk away with a microphone and was it a microphone, a boom arm like the one I got, and headphones. And it's part of the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference creative podcast competition workshop thing that we do every year. It's always a lot of fun. You'll get team up with 3 other podcasters, and you'll have about 25 to 30 minutes to craft a podcast, record it, and get it emailed over to our judges. They will judge every single podcast that's created, and then we will play the top 3 on Saturday. So this all happened on Friday. On Saturday, the top 3 will be played. The winning podcast team will, like I said, each person on the team will receive that podcasting podcasting pack from Audio Technica. Nice. Can we get the same deal if we are already registered? Which deal was that? The virtual ticket? If you have you get a plus ticket or a premium ticket, you're automatically getting the virtual ticket. I'm not sure if that's what you were talking about. I'm a newbie podcast with dreams of becoming a podcast producer. How do I even begin preparing? Well, the number one is getting on the mic and just constantly doing everything you can. When I was getting started, all I wanted to do was like interview as many people as I could. I was interviewing people, like if you go back to some of the, I mean, they're not even really, I guess they're available from on my website, but some of the earliest episodes were like a lot of my friends, and they're like, oh, like let's go hang out. And I'm like, yeah, let's go out, and I'll bring my microphone and we'll talk. And we could take this story and I could spin it into an inspirational story through the questions and through getting you to inspire somebody else to go and do the thing that you're doing that you don't even think is that special, but it is. You just don't realize it because you're too close to it. Remember on that first course, bacon. Small Mulvaney was cooking bacon. Yes, Scott did come to my house. I think he slept over that day or the night before, and he cooked bacon and he went to the store and bought a bunch of food and cooked it at my house for us all to eat at the at that first Elevate Your Podcast course. Newbie podcaster typing too fast. What a great idea. Forever friendships from that. Yeah. One of the great things about having a live event with people coming to is the interactions and the friendships that are built. I love bringing people together, and I love putting on events. Like, that's why, I grew up around that in my family's business. So for me, it was like, oh, once I got into podcasting, it was like, oh, how do I bring a bunch of people together and just get to build a great network of friends that all love the thing that I love. And that's what we've been able to do with MapCon year after year after year. Let's see, to clarify, what's the best way to learn the technical studio side of podcasting producing to be able to apply for podcast producer jobs? Wow. Okay. I don't, I would say definitely get as much, as many episodes and hours recording under your belt. But to get like a full-time job, I don't know. I feel like unless you have something that people can look at and be like, oh, that person did that thing that, got really big, it might be really tough to convince somebody to say, hey, I'm going to give you like $40,000-$50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. With the limited experience and no like degree or no formal training background in it. I just feel like it would be really tough to convince somebody to do that. But I think, getting the hours, getting the reps, like I said, interviewing yourself, interviewing other people, recording, creating and recording your own episodes and getting a following. Because a lot of it is about promotion and being able to get people hooked so that they come in and listen. So I think that I don't want to say it's almost like you have to be part promoter on top of that, but the way that the broadcast media has gone, I wouldn't be surprised if they are like, yeah, no, because you look at like book sales, right? And it's like, oh, you're a person who wants to write a book. Cool. We would love to give you a book deal, and that book deal will basically be like a little bit of money for a very long period of time, that you'll have that little bit of money as an advance to get it done. But in the meantime, like, you still got a lot of other things going on, and they at the same time, once the book's done, like, they expect you to be the promoter. Like, if you don't have an audience and you don't have people, in your email list and all that, like, they're not really gonna just be, unless you were like somebody that everybody wants to be around, like, oh, like I was, a first lady, or I was some sports figure or something like that, or I was already on TV by chance, and everybody wants to come to you, all of a sudden everybody wants to come to you. Like, those are the types of things where it's like, they're going to be like, well, how are you going to promote this book? Or how are you going to promote this podcast? So I think a lot of it probably comes down to promotion. I'm not sure who just said that. Kamari. Yeah, you gotta be a promoter. I would say exactly. It's like trying to learn the secret handshake, Joe, but I'm game. Look out, world. I applaud your ambition there, Yvette. I really do. I think that if you put enough effort into coming up with something that's special enough, you might not necessarily need it. You might not need that job, that 40, 50, 60,000 a year job, because you've created an audience, and you create a business around it. But it's all about the business of promoting and constantly promoting and being known for the thing that you love. Like, talk, in your case, talking about stories from I don't want to say underworld, but the subway stories, like those, that's something that, if you can get people to, like, they see you, they think of subways, they think of crazy stories, that, and that to me could be really great. And especially if you make sure that you inject, and that's one of the things that I had to learn from a friend of mine. Well, no longer a friend of mine, but from someone I knew who was like, "Hey Joe, why do people like Ellen? It's not because she has all the stars on the show or the great stories. It's because Ellen's there. She's funny and all that stuff." Now, as it turns out, I've heard that she's not all that nice or accommodating, I'll say, around, when she's like recording her show, and maybe somewhat understandably, but I will say that I think that by having your personality injected in and around being the glue that holds all these stories together, I think that that is what will bring people back, because the story, the people that you have on are not there tomorrow, but you'll be there. And that's what you really want. You really want people to resonate with. And that was something that I had to, because like originally I thought my show was all about my guests. It's like, oh, I'm documenting their story, and we're getting everything that we can to make them feel like their story is being preserved. And I used to do a ton of editing and try to make everything as special as possible, like a journal. And then I realized, 75, 100 episodes in, like, no, like I need to be it needs to be more about, even though I'm having a guest on, it still needs to be about me, because I'm the person that's going to be there next week. I'm the, next episode is going to be me, not that person. And that's really the thing that I think you need to keep in mind when you're like, okay, it's a 5-minute episode, but how am I going to inject myself, my personality, and what's going to bring people back? Because the story might be great. The story might get picked up by some, news outlet or something and get you like a quick burst of traffic and people listening, but that doesn't necessarily, like, if with less of you in it, is going to not bring as many people to the next episode. And I think that was a big thing out of the gate. I thought like, oh, if I have these people on my show, they're going to share it with their people, and then like 2% or 3% will stay around, from the people that they shared it to and came to me. And as I learned, I like that has very little, not very much, a little bit. I mean, you're talking like 0.001% of the people that was brought by somebody else stayed, and some of them had actually become fans. So thank you. Great stuff, Joe. Thank you. Really looking forward to MapCon 5. I'm looking forward to seeing you and meeting you at MapCon MapCon 5, Stephen. Yvette, see you there, Stephen. You said it right the first time, Joe. The NYC subway really is the underworld land of no escape. It's literally dirty, but it holds a special place of awe in my rough New York City heart. Remember, never, ever stare at the tracks. Wow, I didn't know that. I know I looked across and I saw like a whole family of rats coming in and out of a dumpster once, but yeah, I it's again not for me. I'm good. So so yeah, I want you all to really just think about these things that we talked about tonight. Let me run through them real quick here. What is it you want to talk about? What do you want to bring to the table? Don't worry about that somebody else has already done a show or there's a show like that. I mean, think about like how many I'm a Disney head, so think about how many Disney podcasts there are, and so many of them are different. They inject their personalities and they allow themselves to stand out and be different. Let's see. Wish you all every success. Thank you, Jody. Thank you for joining us. Remember, who is your avatar? Who's the person you're trying to speak to specifically about that topic? It's not necessarily, people that are like, you might be hyper into a topic, but you don't necessarily know who the type of people that are going to resonate with it, and how you could, once you figure out who that avatar is, you can start to just really dive in and get better at giving them regular content that they want. I say regular, it should be stellar content. The most incredible, the hugest content you possibly could come up with. What equipment should you be using? What software should you use? What kind of host do you want? And what rules do you want? What will you do to promote it? What social media platform is right for you? What live events could you go to? What people can you be talking to? All that kind of stuff is things that you want to be learning. And how can you learn more? Obviously, coming to MapCon, getting yourself a ticket. If you get a premium ticket, you can come to the Elevate Your Podcast course. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am gonna probably go play some games after I finish up writing a Facebook ad I need to finish. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everyone. This was a blast. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really am excited to see everybody. I think maybe I'll put a few more of these together, a little deeper stuff going forward here. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad everybody decided to come out. Everybody have a great night. I'm gonna go play some video games and enjoy my night.